So, hi, welcome Cynthia Stimpel, Joel Ledwaba. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
The purpose of this discussion is, I think, a prelude to the launch of OUTA's Moral Courage Recognition Program. And the intention here is for us to start recognizing people who stand up to truth to power, to stand up to the abuse of authority in places of public governance, the waste of money, maladministration, corruption. And there are many cases where whistleblowers are recognized just through the exposure in the media and through senior authorities giving recognition to people like yourselves, by the way, who really stood up and done some excellent work in this space. But I guess our program wants to go wide. There are thousands of people every day standing up to the abuse of authority and abuse of power in local government, provincial, national government. And we need to also recognize them. So this is not an awards program, it is just a recognition program. And I think I want to get to that. And Cynthia, let's start with yourself. We're going to learn a little bit more about what you did now, but is the recognition of people who exercise moral courage important to you? What do you?
Yes, indeed. They have to be recognized. When whistleblowers or people of courage or journalists or others that just stand up to report the truth or speak the truth to power, they are taking a huge personal risk. And in that personal risk, they suffer a lot of victimization or repercussions to that. So, and as we know, many have lost their jobs. Many have lost their lives, like Babita Deokaran, an example. Many, like Martha Nguyen right now, struggling and fighting through legal battles just to get her job back for standing up for the truth. And when one does not acknowledge them or not recognize them, this is what will lift up that person's spirit, because if it's not done, they continue that path of self-destruction within. Firstly, because they cannot find jobs, it already is a stress. It has a knock-on effect from their mental health, their physical health, and then the relationships that they're in with families, with husbands, with their own children. And it has a huge knock-on effect. But that just recognition validates them. It validates them, it makes them feel that, yes, I have done something right, but it also tells the world, the bigger public out there, that this person has truly done something good for this country and it is being acknowledged.
Okay, no, well put, thanks a lot. And tell us a little bit about the moral courage that you exercised. You were at SAA, fulfilling a very important role, and what triggered your moral courage to stand up to the abuse that was taking place as you saw it? Back in 2016, I think it was.
Yes, it was, Wayne. I know that was the first time I came to OUTA with my case, because I had reported it, obviously internally, reported it to National Treasury, and having heard nothing from them, I then came to OUTA. So what made me stand up was the mere fact of, firstly, my own personal principles and values that I was brought up with, but being in the position as a group treasurer, I felt that I should be held accountable for SAA in the job that I held, and therefore if I was going to allow this to happen, then I'm part and complicit for what's happening. So I had to speak up. The second is that we were obligated as staff to save costs for SAA. And yeah, our board was willing to spend, the initial fee was really going to be over 300 million, which then the final sign-off was 256 million, to pay to a small organization. Again, that is spending money that was totally unnecessary. And the third part was having to change the mandate and for me to sign off and ratify a board resolution just to get this client in. I felt that was illegal, it was unlawful, it was irregular.
So you were getting in the way of somebody or some entity that was going to make a lot of money unnecessarily.
Exactly. And I just felt that wasn't right. It was so against my personal principles, but also for the work that I was doing in the position that I held in my own personal fiduciary duties as a group treasurer. I was not going to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
I knew the repercussions, but I didn't actually think, I was so naive, I didn't think I would be fired for it.
Yeah.
You still think that people are saying, no, let's talk about it, let's fix it.
It's amazing. So there were two factors there. There was the fiduciary duty, you had to, and they would have implicated you, they would have made you complicit and probably laid a lot of the blame on your doorstep had this happened. But there was the moral courage element of your, as you said, your values to say, no, this is wrong. So besides the fact that I have to, knowing you, the person, even if you didn't have to, even if there was no fiduciary duty, you would have still stood up. And that's what we're talking about. It's this moral courage to say, we can't allow this to happen. Well done. And thank you, because you did save the airline lots of money. And I think your case triggered a bigger journey for OUTA in tackling Duvenage and so much else that's gone wrong at SA. And had you not come forward, had you not exercised that moral courage, she would have been in that position a lot longer and a lot more money would have been stolen. And they would have got away, by the way, with that BNP Capital deal. So well done to you. The country owes you acknowledgement and recognition. Joel Ledwaba,
yes.
Different story, operating in the local government space in Mpumalanga.
Yes.
I've heard your story a number of times, and I'm in awe at people like yourselves who put yourself in the firing line of potential death, assassinations, and standing up to truth to power in a province that's notorious and known for the assassination of people that get in the way of money making and corruption and malfeasance. So tell us a little bit about your story. What made you stand up and exercise the moral courage that you did? What happened there?
Mr. Duvenage, the first thing, allow me to give credit to OUTA and other civil society organizations for holding the leadership of today accountable. Had it not been civil society organizations like OUTA and others and your good self, South Africa would have been a banana republic. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that courage. Yeah. And number two is Mpumalanga province is it's a province of skillful mercenaries. Mm-hmm. You criticize them today and expose them, and factually so, you don't live to see another day. I'm talking about Jimmy Mhlala, who died for Bobela Stadium. I'm talking about Sebim Patlanyane, who died fighting a 68 million rands invoice for a work that was never done in Glove and many other things. But what touched my heart, Mpumalanga, it's my home. And I could not take it any longer seeing municipalities of Mpumalanga province, all of them except Steve Tsoete, being an ATM machine for ANC regional criminals.
Sure.
I want to be honest.
Yeah.
We must be seen to be telling the truth and truth to power, no matter what.
So, Joel, what you're talking about is a modus operandi that is practiced in a number of provinces, towns, local government, provincial government. It's sick and it's sad that we have that. But you as an individual, we often think that we can do nothing, but you stood up. You exercised moral courage, and I believe that is that is brought about, even if it's not a gross or provincial change and sweeping change to fix these issues. It's in getting in the way and stopping corruption to the extent that it would have been a lot worse, same as Cynthia, had you not stood up. Tell us about your moral courage. Why? Why do you do it? Why don't you just look away? Why don't you participate? And
I refused to see communities in Mpumalanga, both black and whites, being fed with the water or supplied with the water that is contaminated with human feces. I refuse that. I refuse to see a complete service delivery, the complete collapse of service delivery in Mpumalanga province, where all our roads are littered with Pampers, this and that. Again, I'm grateful that we opened cases which was even, we got an intervention from the Green Scorpions, whereby Tabacho municipality was fined 10 million rands for environmental degradation. It was there all over the newspapers and radios. But over and above, it pained me to see public funds going into private pockets of people. It pained me to see MIG, Municipal Infrastructure Grant, meant to upgrade and fix the projects of communities, being used, those funds being used to pay people's salaries. Over and above, we need to tell the world the truth, Mr. Wayne. That I find it bizarre that we've got municipal managers, executive mayors, and councils. These people are just pawns. Municipal managers, executive mayors, you name them, and directors of municipalities, they're just stooges who receive money on the 25th of every month. But there are people behind them that are taking money and giving orders. In simple, practical terms, let's tell the world the truth. The regional structures of the ANC and the professional structures of the ANC in Mpumalanga province and in the whole country are responsible for the collapse of our municipalities. Let me tell you one thing. There is this issue that you must toe the line and respect the mandate. You find people are supposed to do something that is irrational or irregular or unlawful. Because if you say no, they're going to give the councils an order that because you are in a majority and they're using majority in a very wrong way, please, you must pass a motion of no confidence against this guy or you must suspend him. And what they do, during your suspension, they do all these things, evil things. And when you come back, the budget, it's nowhere to be seen.
So Joel, there's the modus operandi, many of them very similar. And I'm sensing your moral courage is driven by two things. It's the pain and suffering. And it's the poorest of the poor that suffer the most in the, as you say, indigent grants to indigent communities, not being, finding their way to doing the work that it should to uplift those communities. And it's the suffering of the citizens that triggers this pain for you. But it's also the anger that people are taking their money and misusing it for their own gain. So it's a two-edged issue. If the upliftment was still taking place, you would stand up because somebody's being enriched unlawfully or wrongly. And even if there was no enrichment, if it was just wasting money because of ineptitude, you would stand up. And that's brave. You have suffered the consequences of that. Tell us a little bit about what are the implications for you as you've done this work.
I have received death threats many a time. Number two, I have even beefed any member who's from Ledwaba, my family. Everyone has got a private bodyguard for your information.
Wow.
I've put extraordinary measures in terms of security in my house. And over and above, there is a strategy that has been adopted by the evil leadership of Mpumalanga that we must file false litigations against this man.
To wear you down. It's called the lawfare strategy.
Absolutely.
They wear you down. They keep you tied up and busy.
Absolutely.
It's sheer bullying.
Absolutely.
And we saw this in the cases against the various people who stood up at SA, yourself,
Yes.
Tulium Share and Sylvain Bosk. They just lay fictitious charges. They wear you down, suspend you, and you get caught up in labor court processes. It's actually quite sick.
Absolutely.
So the personal cost that costs you money, it costs you time.
I had to sell my cars.
No.
I had 4. I had to sell 3 because if they give you something called a feeble false litigations, you must put a motion to defend.
Yeah.
It's money.
Yeah.
You must do this and that. It's money. And that it's because they want to keep me quiet. Right now, on the 12th of April, the nation shrieked with horror where the former deputy president of the country, Didi Mabuza, had to organize an immediate court interdict against my good self.
Sure.
I went to Mbombela High Court and defended that. And then the judgment it's an urgent court interdict. It took the judge 10 months to release what was supposed to be released in 3 months or in 11 days.
Yeah.
And as I speak of now, I am appealing that judgment to the Supreme Court precisely because that judgment, it speaks nothing. You could see this is a judgment that could not be compiled by a judge, but somebody just compiled that and then gave judge and said, this is a judgment.
Joel, so the personal suffering is real. I imagine you've got family members who are just saying, why keep doing this? We're all suffering as a result, as you say. You're all having to bear the cost. And I don't want to get into the topic of, would you, knowing what you know now, both of you, would you have done what you did then? Because that's an unfair question. And I know the general tendency is to say yes. But in reality, and I've heard some whistleblowers who've done amazing work in this space say no, just because the pain and suffering is too much. So it's incredible. And that's why we talk about the courage. And I think what we are seeing, the implications to whistleblowers and people who stand truth to power, the negative ramifications thereof, is deterring a lot of people from coming forward.
Yes.
They are realizing that this does have implications for them potentially that is going to ruin their lives, and they're stopping now. They're looking away. They're saying, I just can't bear those consequences. That's the sad reality, which is why I think it's very important that we do recognize, give recognition to people who exercise this moral courage. So thanks for doing what you've done. Seriously, we cannot thank you as a country anymore. You deserve every recognition, awards, and to be compensated, quite frankly. And we've got to get there as a country. We've got to get there as a government, put government under pressure to do what they should be doing in that space. They're not doing enough. So it is up to civil society to start doing more of this type of stuff. We're going to see where this takes us. We'd love your inputs, your ideas. This is just the start of a journey that I think is going to get bigger and bigger, and we're going to work with other organizations if need be. And hopefully one day the president has to start recognizing the people like yourselves who stood up. Keep up the good work. Thank you is all I can say from the from our hearts and from the hearts of every citizen that cares about this country for doing what you've done. But stay safe, please, and don't put your life in jeopardy. Don't put your families in jeopardy or your livelihoods. Thank you for your moral courage, and thank you for being here.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.